We will begin the first session for day 2. We'll be speaking about marine pollution. The Science Journal in 2015 projected that in a business-as-usual scenario of unchecked plastic waste leakage to the ocean, the global quantity of plastic in the ocean would nearly double to 250 million metric tons by 2025. This session is aiming to address marine plastic debris issues that requires attention from the global community and to show commitments and actions to combat plastic debris from the government, NGOs, private sectors, even every single individuals. This session will be led by Her Excellency Svenja Schultz, Federal Minister for the Environment, Nature Conservation, and Nuclear Safety. But before that, I would like to invite the scene setter, Dr. Sandra Thornton Whitehouse, Chief Scientific Officer for Alta Sea at the Port of Los Angeles, Senior Policy Advisor to Ocean Conservancy, and a non-resident Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Dr. Sandra? Yes, please. Thank you. And also for the speakers, please join Dr. Sandra at the stage. His Excellency Roberto Ampuero Espinosa, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Republic of Chile, Rob Kaplan, founder and CEO of Circulate Capital, Dame Ellen MacArthur, founder of Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Rosa Vivian Ratnawati, Director General of Waste Management, Toxic and Hazardous Waste, Ministry of Environment, Forestry of Republic of Indonesia, Dan Ives, Executive Director of the Lonely Whale, and Ingrid Giss, Chair of Global Ghost Gear Initiative. And please welcome the session's chair, Her Excellency Svenja Schultz, Federal Minister for the Environment, Nature Conservation, and Nuclear Safety.
All right, well, I'll be winging this without my slides. Since our ocean conference, Secretary Kerry had the foresight to include marine pollution as a key issue in the Our Oceans conference. Since then, many of the people in this room and others have worked together to raise awareness about the issue as well as to seek solutions. So where have we come since then? Well, I believe that it's rare to have an issue where so many individuals, corporations, NGOs, multinationals, and others are working together toward a common goal. I'm pleased to announce on behalf of the Trash-Free Seas Alliance their commitment of $100 million in investment to avoid or replace at least 500,000 tons per year of ocean plastic, as well as $100 million of financial investment. Oh, there we go, okay. Individuals, financial institutions, governments, multinationals, NGOs, corporations, and our Trash-Free Seas Alliance announcement. I would pose that we are all in. A great example is in the United States, where our political situation is difficult, to say the least. So when a Republican senator from an inland state touts a recent issue of National Geographic about ocean plastic and works with his Democratic colleagues to pass the Save Our Seas Act, which was just signed into law, it's a testament to the power of raising awareness as well as the commonality of this issue. As we're here today, I would say that we are all in, and we've learned a lot. We know where the plastic is currently leaking from, and we expect this to shift as more countries develop their economies. We also know that solid waste management is a key part of the solution to addressing this leakage, and that we're going to need to make further investments. Currently, a tiny portion of development finance goes towards solid waste management. That's why it's really important to see countries like Indonesia take a leadership role and pledge $1 billion per year towards solutions. But this is not just a regional problem. This is a global issue. That's why it's also promising to see efforts like the Clean Seas Initiative, which was recently launched by the KfW and others, that will provide 2 billion euros in financing. Certainly, we're going to need more financing to advance the circular economy, which includes things like our reusable water bottles that we've received today, and was a key part of the recent plastics charter signed by 5 of the 7 G7 countries this past summer in Canada. We also need to increase the collection and recycling of material, but keeping in mind that we still need to get the material from the home to a recycling facility. A number of people here in the room have working on recycling. The Coca-Cola company has recently launched their World Without Waste program focused on improving their recycling. We also need to reduce single-use plastics, and we have just heard some commitments that are part of the European Commission law that was passed to reduce single-use items, including many tools such as extended producer responsibility. Plastic bags are one single-use item that we can certainly do without, and Chile has recently become the first Latin American country to ban them. Straws are another item that many of us can do without. Ocean Conservancy launched the Skip the Straw program 5 years ago, and last year Adrian Kinnear asked us all to stop sucking. Just in the past few months, a number of major corporations have eliminated the plastic straw. The microbead is a small single-use item that we can also probably do without, and a number of countries have banned them. But even if we eliminate all the microbeads, we're still having a rising problem of microplastics. Microfibers are just one component of microplastics that we need to learn more about. But we can't wait for the science to start implementing solutions. We know we need to do things like capturing microfibers in the wash. The Patagonia company is recently supplying washer bags with their products to do just that. And while in the coastal areas, many of the microfibers are coming from our clothing, in open ocean, much of the microfiber is coming from disintegrated fishing gear. So we know we need to address the issue of abandoned, lost, or discarded fishing gear, not only because of the microplastic problem, but also because it's obviously very damaging to marine life. We need to incentivize the return of this fishing gear, and the Triple GI, you'll hear more about this, has recently launched a pilot program here in Indonesia to return gill nets. Ultimately, we need to keep plastic out of the ocean, but we also need to clean up what we can. Not only will it remove some waste, but it's also a very important tool to raising awareness with individuals, governments, and corporations about the problem. So finally, let me take you to the lovely spot in Timor-Leste where I was last week. This family is part of one of many coastal communities that rely on the ocean. And their government has launched an aggressive campaign on ocean plastic, including reusing these bags made of cassava instead of plastic. It's a great example of a redesigned product. So thank you, Minister Susi, for bringing us all here together today to seek solutions on the ocean plastic problem. Thank you.
Welcome to Sandra for this setting the scene and opening the panel session 4. And my name is Sonja Schulze. I'm the chair here for this panel, and I want to boost the discussion with the commitments from Germany to this conference. Through the International Climate Initiative, Germany provides support to partner countries in their efforts to sustainably manage and conserve marine and coastal ecosystems through the establishment, enforcement, and enhancement of marine protected areas. In concrete, I am pleased to announce a new project called the Fishing for Resilience Project, which has started its work in September this year. It will focus on empowering vulnerable fishery-dependent communities across Indonesia, the Philippines, and Micronesia to identify and implement ecosystem-based adaptation measures to restore and sustain small-scale fisheries and conserve critical ecosystems and sustain the ecosystem services needed to enhance adaptive capacities, coastal protection, food security, and livelihoods. It is planned to run the project for 3 years with the amount of about 7 million euros. Germany intends to support this project with an amount of up to 5.5 million euros. In addition, we will start a new project in 2019 to conserve the marine biodiversity and support coastal communities on Sulawesi and the Coral Triangle. Amongst others, the Indonesian Ministry for Marine Affairs and Fisheries will be partner in these projects, which is planned for a period of 6 years and an amount of up 7 million euros. International negotiations are underway on a binding implementing agreement under the law of the sea to ensure the protection of sustainable use of biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction. Germany is supportive to this process. I'm very pleased to announce that we are able to contribute to the voluntary trust fund an amount of $93,000 for the purpose of assisting developing countries. And we intend to do it in 19 and 20 also. And Germany further commits to increasing its contribution to the Blue Action Fund in 2018 by an additional sum of 6 million euros to a total contribution of 50 million euros. The Blue Action Fund supports NGOs implementing projects in developing countries that improve and expand marine protected areas with the objective of conserving marine biodiversity, promoting recovery of fish stocks and enhancing livelihood conditions. It's a fund supported by Germany, Sweden and France. And now we start with the next panel discussion, and I like to introduce to you Roberto Ampuero Espinosa. He was served as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I think he's known about a lot of novels, mirrors, and books we read from you. Just give you our speech. Thank you.
I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the government of Indonesia for hosting our ocean. As most of you know, Chile has been fully committed with our ocean since its origins. Our country has the privilege of hosting its second conference in 2015. And my participation on this 5th edition proves that Chile takes its policy of ocean protection with a long-term view. Marine pollution is one of the most pressing challenges to the ocean today. Plastic bags, fishing gear, and food and beverage containers are the most common forms of plastic pollution found in the oceans. At least 8 million tons of plastic enter the oceans each year. There is more microplastic in the ocean than fishes. More than half of the plastic present today in our oceans has been produced in the last 13 years alone. Allow me to share with you 4 initiatives developed by Chile. First, legislation to ban the use of plastic shopping bags. The new bill was enacted last August and aims to reduce significantly the use of plastic bags throughout the whole country, establishing uniform and binding criteria for all sorts of plastic bags in all commercial establishments. It also bans so-called biodegradable plastic bags. The law contributes to a significant reduction of the negative effects associated with climate change, reducing the carbon footprint that Chileans generate by using, on average, more than 200 single-use plastic bags per year, per capita. Plastic bags that we only use shortly take more than 400 years to degrade. The legislation promoted by President Sebastián Piñera generated a political consensus, was unanimously approved by the National Congress and received 95% of public support. The implementation of the law allows all commerce to adapt to it, establishing a differentiated implementation periods for small and medium enterprises. All Chileans, as Chileans, we are proud that in just 2 years we will become a country free of single-use shopping plastic bags in trade activities. Thank you. Second, Ciao Bombillas campaign, Bye-Bye Straws. Used under the motto for an ocean free of plastics, the Ministry of Environment promotes since last September the Bye-Bye Straws campaign. to create public awareness about the massive use of light plastic straws and calls for limiting its use. It takes 1 minute to manufacture a straw, 15 minutes to use it, and more than 200 years to decompose. Just as we did with plastic bags, we have also added the private sector to this effort by giving the Chao Bombillas seal to all restaurants and commercial premises that have resigned its use. Third, cleanup of our beaches. With the aim of creating awareness about the litter in the ocean, the Ministry of Environment, along with the Chilean Navy, carries out, since 2011, an annual garbage collection campaign that aims to include a cleanup of almost all our beaches. The last Friday of September every year, we celebrate the International Beach Cleanup Day. This year, the activity involved more than 12,000 volunteers throughout the country that collected 360,000 tons of garbage in a single day that otherwise would have ended up in the ocean. 4. Chile APEC 2019 and the ocean. Next year, Chile will be the host of APEC. The conservation of the ocean and the promotion of sustainable growth in the region will be part of the agenda of APEC Chile 2019. A concrete example is Plastic Less, an initiative that proposes a series of actions to move towards an APEC-free plastic in the fora, workshops, and other activities. To conclude, 3 short reflections to share with you. First, collective awareness. Enacting legislation is essential, but more important is the promotion of cultural changes around the issue of marine pollution. It is relevant for the community to become an active part. Education work in the classroom and the generation of citizen awareness plays an essential role. Second, the need of develop a culture of clean production and reuse. The vulnerability of the ocean shows us that the main problem does not lie in the production process of its inputs, but in our habits or our methods of production and consumption. We are firmly convinced that environmental protection is not only compatible with economic growth, but it's complementary. That is why we work together with the private sector so that awareness of our responsibilities for meeting recycling goals should be shared with businesses, community, and citizens. Third and final, let's walk the international talk. The importance of the United Nations 2030 agenda and with its sustainable development goals in mind, particularly SDG 14, includes targets to prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds. When the mandate is so clear, we do not need to look for further, better guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Government of Indonesia, for hosting us today. 2 years ago, I stood on the stage at Our Ocean and introduced a model in Washington, D.C. We talked about how do you leverage the scale and resources of the world's largest corporations to build value chains that prevent plastic waste. Then last year at Our Ocean in Malta, we, in partnership with Ocean Conservancy, made a floor announcement to commit to create a financing vehicle to deploy capital into waste and recycling solutions that prevent the flow of plastic into the ocean in South and Southeast Asia. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have achieved that goal and have raised over $100 million to deploy into those solutions as quickly as possible. When you're building an investment strategy, there's one key thing that starts everything, and that's following the money. Ocean plastic costs. It costs the earth, and it costs us money. We have estimated, or others have estimated, that ocean plastics cost us around $13 billion a year. And it's been estimated as well by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We'll hear from Ellen MacArthur in a second that the resources we lose by wasting plastic could actually generate more than $80 billion of economic value for the economy. Yet we throw it all away. Further research has found that if we invest in waste and recycling infrastructure here in South and Southeast Asia, we could see as much as a 45% reduction in that flow of plastic waste into the ocean. And that's why I'm pleased to have announced in partnership with PepsiCo, our first investor, Procter & Gamble, Dow, Danone, Unilever, and Coca-Cola, that we're creating a $100 million investment strategy to deploy that capital as quickly as possible. But I don't want you to take my word for it. Yesterday, we hosted a side event and featured much of their voices, so I'd like to share a brief video about their story. Circulate Capital is the world's first investment firm dedicated to preventing ocean plastic. We incubate and invest in waste management and recycling programs, companies, and infrastructure that prevent ocean plastic at the source.
And that's where a coalition of governments, NGOs, and the private sector can make a huge difference. And that's what Circulate Capital and the Incubate Network is all about. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today.
So why this session is so important for Indonesia? Plastic, the waste, is not only about the amount. We're having quite a big numbers of plastic in the end. We have problem, but we have a solution. I think we are all here, gathering here is part of the solution.
And that's why we've launched Circulate Capital. And so today we're proud to announce the first fund dedicated to this space to try and unlock this capital. So just this past week, we've been proud to announce a pledge of over $100 million from 6 of these companies.
Our investors may be competitors, but they share a common objective: solutions at scale.
PepsiCo joined Circulate Capital as the very first funder because your inspired vision to develop a circular economy in which we can take old plastics and turn them into new reusable resources for future materials is perfectly aligned with our performance with purpose.
We are proud to join our fellow founding investors and the Circulate Capital team, working together to generate the innovation and investment needed to solve this critical global issue.
We believe that our collaboration with Circulate Capital and other partners is an important step in unlocking the investment needed to accelerate the scale-up and create meaningful solutions to plastic waste.
But it's one that we truly believe is solvable through investment and through scale. And that's why we believe that Circulate Capital is a great place for this investment.
So it was very natural for us to stay involved and help participate and shape the Circulate Capital movement. And we're excited to be a part of that and look forward to getting moving after today.
We know how to solve the problem of ocean plastic. It's time to make it happen. There's a missing middle. There's a need for billions and billions of dollars to be invested into this space, and yet the capital available is not able to access the opportunities on the ground. We need philanthropic capital to build capacity at the local level, and we need investment capital to follow on and bring that to scale. But at the end of the day, these solutions start with people. The only way we'll solve this problem is if we turn this from an environmental challenge, an environmental crisis, to an economic development opportunity, to invest in the people that collect this waste, to invest in the people that process it from a waste stream into a resource, and to invest in the people who turn it from a resource and manufacture it into a product of higher value. But let me be clear, we will not recycle our way out of this problem. We will not reduce our way out of this problem, and we will not regulate our way out of this problem. This is a system challenge that requires a system solution, and all sectors need to be working in concert to drive that solution. But the good news is the solution starts now. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I give the floor to Al MacArthur, the successful solo long-distance yachtswoman and the founder of the Al MacArthur Foundation.
Today's economy is predominantly linear. Even today, with our current innovations, we take a material, we make something out of it, and in the majority of cases, that material gets thrown away. That could be plastic packaging, that could be rare earth metals, that could be phosphorus leaking into our oceans. It's inherently linear. Take, make, and dispose. The challenge is turning that line into a circle. What if, from the outset, we could redesign our economy, first of all, so we design out waste and pollution? Why in this age would we ever design a material or a product that would become waste? What if you could keep that product once it's correctly designed? Cycling. What if you could keep it in use, products or materials? And then if they're biological, in the form of timber, cotton, human waste, agricultural waste, you could actually regenerate natural systems. It's a completely different model. You design out waste, you keep materials in use, and you regenerate natural systems. Restorative and regenerative, not extractive and consumptive. And when you look at the outcome of that linear economy, plastic packaging, as we just heard, is a massive, massive problem, challenge, and polluter. The majority of plastic today isn't even designed to be recyclable. It's an amazing material, it keeps things dry, it keeps things fresh, but it will only ever become waste because it's not designed to fit within a system. We at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation have the goal to accelerate the transition to a circular economy. That straight line shifted towards a circle. And 4 years ago, we asked ourselves, what is the most linear of all material flows in our economy? And we felt actually perhaps plastic packaging was one of them. And we set about, together with McKinsey and the World Economic Forum, to really try to understand global plastic packaging flows. In January 2016, we brought out a report at the World Economic Forum which said that by 2050 there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish if we carry on our current trajectory. I can tell you, for me as a sailor, having spent 10 years at sea, that's a frightening thought. So we said, so how do you fix that? Many, many people have asked that question. How do you fix it? We know we have a problem. The more numbers we look at, the bigger this problem becomes. But actually, in order to stem that flow, you need to go to the beginning of the system. It's absolutely crucial, of course, to recover the plastic we have, to stop that leaking into the ocean, to clean up the beaches. That is absolutely vital. But we will only solve this problem if we go to the beginning of the flow of plastic and we design it for a system. We design every piece of plastic so it fits within a system. It's either compostable, biodegradable, or it's recyclable. Then everything put into that economy will have value. If everything has value, as we just heard from Rob, it will be recovered and it will fuel economies. It's a different way of looking at things. And so we started to work with some of the biggest organizations in the world, the biggest brands in the world, some of the biggest packaging companies in the world, and we tried to work out what that shift from linear to circular would look like. In January 2017, we launched our second report, and we believed, after spending 1 year working with some of the biggest companies in the world and their experts and their scientists and their material scientists, we reckoned that it should be possible to design the plastic packaging system, 78 million tons, to be 50% of it completely recyclable, 20% of it reusable, so it gets used many times before ultimately it gets recycled, and 30% needs to be redesigned. Different materials, not the small format little sachets that end up blowing into the ocean, but actually things that are designed to fit within a system. That could be a different material or it could be a completely different distribution model. And we pursued those goals. By Malta last year, we had 6 companies, and we're incredibly proud yesterday to have launched our global commitment together with the UN Environment Programme. In the last 6 weeks, we have 250 organizations signed up to eliminate the plastic packaging we don't need, to innovate around the plastic that we do, so it's 100% recyclable, compostable, or reusable, and finally to circulate it. Because just designing a recyclable piece of plastic is not enough. It needs to be circulated. And we need to match the investment that we see at the end of the pipe, at the beginning, around innovation, different distribution models, to completely change the way the plastic packaging system works globally. We now believe we have 20% of all plastic packaging producers, brands, people within that value chain, 20% by volume globally. We have support from the Consumer Goods Forum, from the World Wildlife Fund, from the World Economic Forum. We urge you as countries and as companies to join and to sign the global commitment, to really try to get plastic waste to be a thing of the past. We need plastic to be in the economy and out of the ocean. And just finally, We see this as systemic change. To change a system, you need to go right to the beginning, get all the actors in the value chain, and shift that system. There are many, many other instances of systemic change which are needed globally, many which impact the oceans. And we hope that through the commitments we've seen from companies, from countries, from governments, from universities around the world, it will demonstrate that it really is possible to join forces to work together and to work out what that common goal looks like. Because we'll only ever get to that goal if we can define what it is and we can aim towards it. Thank you.
On behalf of the Government of Indonesia, we would like to announce that we have committed to reduce waste by 30% and to handle waste properly by 70% of total waste generation in 2025. The target is legally stated on Presidential Regulation, year 2017, regarding national policy and strategy on solid waste management. Waste reducing is done through waste prevention, waste recycling, and waste reusing at the source of solid waste generation, including plastic bag restriction, community-based composting, and waste bank. Waste handling is done through solid waste management implementation improvement, including capacity strengthening in human resources, quality of institution, and quality of infrastructure, with focusing on waste segregation improvement rate and waste treatment improvement rate by diverting waste from landfill to become compost, raw material, and energy. Government of Indonesia also has committed to reduce marine litter 70% by 2025 through the implementation of Presidential Regulation year 2018 regarding National Plan of Action to combat marine litter in the period of 2018 to 2025, which involve 16 ministries, national agencies, local government, businesses, NGOs, NPOs, communities, and other organizations. Government of Indonesia also has committed to accelerate the implementation of energy recovery of solid waste using environmentally friendly technology in 12 cities through the implementation of Presidential Regulation year 2018 using public-private partnership scheme. Government of Indonesia also has committed to develop the roadmap of waste reduction by the producer as fundamental aspect to implement extended producer responsibility and circular economy. Government of Indonesia and 17 other countries under East Asia Summit Framework will declare EAS leader statement on combating marine plastic litter and to reduce 25% of interboundary marine plastic litter. Government of Indonesia also has committed to carry out public awareness raising programs through communication, information, and education activities in order to succeed the agenda for reducing marine litter and microplastic. Government of Republic of Indonesia will take a lead to implement marine litter and microplastic reduction agenda in Indonesia through collaborative action, those involving line ministries, local government, business, NGOs, NPOs, communities, and other organizations. We are also supported by civil society movement will promote local policy to stop using plastic shopping bag in 40 cities and regencies by 2025. Government of Indonesia continues to develop waste bank since it is succeeded as an instrument for implementation of community-based 3Rs in the following aspect: waste reduction at source, waste segregation, waste recycling, and composting that benefit to improve social cohesion and economic opportunities at community level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having us here today. As a species, we've allowed the plastic pollution crisis to redefine what we consider to be normal. Almost overnight, our children have become accustomed to playing on beaches made not of sand, but of plastic. The crisis is impacting communities all over the world, even in the United States, where 5-day-old turtles bound for the ocean, their bellies have been found with plastic inside of them. None of us are immune to the devastation caused by plastic waste, and we all must lean into this crisis in order to solve for it more quickly than our current trajectory. This includes corporations like those of Next Wave Plastics, who have joined forces to intercept as much ocean-bound plastic as they can and permanently lock it up into their products. Next Wave is a cross-industry consortium launched in December 2017 by Dell Technologies and Lonely Well, with the mission to keep plastic in our economy and out of our ocean. This month, one of Dell's market competitors, HP, joined Next Wave, as did IKEA, who sits at the table with market competitors Humanscale and Herman Miller. They, alongside of General Motors, Trek Bicycles, Boreo, and Interface Carpets, are having impact today and scaling up their efforts to have greater impact together more quickly.
Ocean plastic is a tremendous problem.
There's over 8 million tons of plastic a year going into the ocean.
The UN and others have estimated that by the year 2050, we will have more plastic in the ocean than fish by volume.
Completely shocking. I've never seen anything like this.
So if we can actually turn off the tap and reduce the amount of plastic waste going into the ocean, that can actually be a tipping point.
Creating a circular economy is essential to our future, and using more recycled content in our products is how we're going to make that happen.
For us, it's about intercepting this plastic on land and bringing it through our supply chains to make products made from ocean-bound plastic.
By collaborating with other like-minded companies, I think we can make a significant difference to this problem.
We have a number of projects that are already having immediate impact. Our Networks project, which is a partnership with the Zoological Society of London, has now collected over 208 tonnes of net.
We have a water bottle cage holder that's called the Bontrager Bat Cage. It was a perfect plug and play for us to use ocean-bound nylon 6. It's going to be released hopefully early January 2019.
Dell has been working for the past 2 years to prove out internally that they were able to collect, process, and then integrate an ocean-bound plastic into their packaging. Dell was really the one that said, we can't do this by ourselves. We need more companies. We need competitors sitting across the table from each other.
We are announcing a coalition of the willing companies that really want to come together. We are trying to develop the first ever scalable supply chain in the industry for ocean plastics.
I'm really excited to announce that we have IKEA and HP Inc. joining Next Wave as our newest member companies.
Since March of 2017, HP's used 250 tons of ocean-bound plastic to make our ink cartridges. And that means about 12 million bottles haven't made it into the Caribbean Sea. They're in our products. HP wants to join now because we have a lot of lessons that we can share.
By working together with all these other brands who have great knowledge and learning and experience, we can actually develop these ocean-bound supply chains in a much better way and scale them up and really have a much bigger impact on stopping plastic entering our oceans.
We launched a product with ocean plastic in it spring this year with Next Wave. All these companies that are working in the space of using ocean-bound plastic are starting to come together.
Really incredible that there are competitors sitting in the room together, sitting down and saying, this is something that we both believe in and we're going to figure out a way to work together.
I think it's a great opportunity to connect not only with other corporates, but also to connect with communities and grow our impact there.
Everyone is inspired by companies that want to tackle ocean plastic problems. These companies are really asking everyone to lean in with them. This is hard work. This is not easy, and it's going to take everybody to solve this problem. And I'm really excited to see what comes from the conversations that these Next Wave member companies lead. So we have global companies working together in a transparent and open source manner to permanently lock up ocean-bound plastic into these products designed with circularity in mind. I'm pleased to announce today that by the end of 2025, Next Wave member companies will have established a global commercially operational and scalable network of ocean-bound plastic suppliers across Chile, Haiti, Indonesia, the Philippines, and a minimum of 3 additional countries, and will have demonstrated impact by permanently removing a minimum of 25,000 tons of ocean-bound plastics through product integration. These companies will continue to find ways to increase their commitment over the coming years. Still, their efforts alone won't solve the problem. 25,000 tons of ocean-bound plastic is a drop in the sea of plastic waste, but it is a start. The harsh reality is that in total, all of the incredible commitments you're hearing today will not stop the flow of the total amount of 4 to 12 million metric tons of plastic going into the ocean this year, next year, the year after that, and even the year 2022-21. If we share the vision of a healthy ocean free from plastic waste, we must all commit to moving from a linear economy to a circular economy like our Next Wave member companies. We must also see stronger commitments from industry to slow the production of new plastics for packaging until true circularity is established, and commitments by government to put in place policies that support the collection of ocean-bound plastics and demand greater transparency. It will take all of us to ask if we're doing enough and working quickly enough. That's exactly what these Next Wave bicycle, furniture, carpet, automobile, and tech companies asked themselves. Their answer was to act today and to demonstrate what is possible when we work collaboratively and inspire each of you to lean in further to this crisis so that together we will achieve SDG 14.1 by 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we hear Ingrid Gieske as chair of the Global Ghost Gear Initiative.
Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be here today and to address you during this very important panel. My colleagues here on the panel have already covered in great detail the devastating problem that plastic pollution, land-based litter, forms for our oceans. So today I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the most harmful form of marine debris, which is lost or abandoned fishing gear or ghost gear. At least 640,000 tons of fishing gear are lost or abandoned in our oceans every single year, which is the same as 52,000 London double-decker buses or 65 Eiffel Towers. This figure is from 2009, so it's very likely that this number is much, much higher today. Fishing gear accounts for 46 to 70% of all microplastics in our oceans if accounted by weight, and is made from extremely durable plastic that can last up in our oceans up to 600 years. It's also estimated that 5 to 30% of all global harvestable fish stocks are affected by ghost gear, making this also a risk to food security. Not only is this an incredible amount of plastic pollution entering our oceans, fishing gear is the most harmful form of marine debris for our oceans, ecosystems, and marine life. Fishing gear is designed to capture and kill, and it will continue to do so indiscriminately after it is lost. For all of these reasons, and because all of these compelling statistics, concerted action across all sectors is needed right now to turn the tide and to ensure delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals by the end of 2030. And this is why World Animal Protection launched the Global Ghost Gear Initiative in 2015. In just 4 years' time, we've brought together close to 100 partner organizations, including NGOs, industry, academia, and governments. And this swell in support shows the recognition that ghost gear is an important problem that needs collective action. We draw on the collective strength of our partners because we strongly believe that we can only tackle this problem if all voices are heard around the table that unites us, no matter our differences. We work across the 3 R's: reduce, remove, recycle, with a strong focus on prevention at source. The mission of the GGI is to protect marine ecosystems and the life within them, while also safeguarding human health and livelihoods. We do this top-down through the promotion of best practice of the management of fishing gear across all actors of the supply chain, and bottom-up through scaling up innovative solution projects in hotspot areas where the need is the greatest. We evidence the problem through data collection and analysis, and by informing policy through this data, as well as through the practical evidence that our projects bring. The Global Ghost Gear Initiative is not interested in tokenism or a scattergun approach, but in real action that takes time and commitment to see true results. The Global Ghost Gear Initiative is closely aligned and committed to the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda to ensure our fish stock levels and food security, create alternative income streams, and to tackle marine pollution and marine life. Therefore, our pledge today is to help establish baselines and contribute to achieve a net reduction of ghost gear in our oceans on an annual basis by 2030, so that we can see a tangible impact that we are having and celebrate this in a real way, that we have prevented more gear from ending up in our oceans than is in our seas today. We aim to achieve this by operationalizing 30 scaled solution projects addressing ghost gear in 15 countries by 2025. We will double the financial commitment from our members, supporting organizations and governments, to 2 million in 2019, by working with market-leading certification schemes and all GGI countries. But most importantly, we pledge to continue to bring people around the table, from fishers to corporations, to foster dialogue and collaboration, and to harness the passion to make a change. Our oceans have no borders, and neither does ghost gear, so please let the ocean unite us towards a future of ghost gear-free seas. Thank you.